it's always helpful to look at something from as many angles as possible, because it might be a certain particular angle or point of view, like really is the breakthrough for you that helps you to get it. And so we talk about enlightenment in so many ways, right? The pain pleasure paradox, like if you can transcend chasing pleasure or avoiding pain, that's liberation. So we talk about a lot of different angles in this masterclass. And I've been rereading over and over again, actually, the Ashtavakra Gita, one of the Gitas in Hinduism. And Ramana Maharshi was a huge fan of the Ashtavakra Gita. Neem Karoli Baba, who is Ram Dass's guru, said this is the most supremely divine text ever written by man. So a lot of sages regarded the Ashtavakra Gita very highly. And it's basically just a conversation between a guru and disciple. But there's this concept that they talk about in here that I absolutely love when I first read it, because a lot of you will probably resonate with this type of experience. On this seeking journey, the more we become aware of our mind, which is what we talk about a lot in this course, become aware of that activity of claiming, which is what ego is. Just watch how the mind tries to identify with everything. We talked with Zarkas last week. We had a good conversation about non-doership and kind of explaining what that is. And so in the Ashtavakra Gita, he talks about this idea of sort of like divine laziness, which we touched on last week when we talked about how Nisargadatta would say, like, to the sage, even blinking the eyes is too much effort to make. Well, I was rereading it, and I actually found that verse he's quoting in the Ashtavakra Gita. And so I'm going to read two passages for you, and then we'll kind of explain them. This first one says, this is chapter 16. Happiness belongs only to the greatly lazy person who considers even blinking his eyelashes a wearisome exertion. I'm going to read that again. Happiness belongs only to the greatly lazy person who considers even blinking his eyelashes a wearisome exertion. So what is he touching on here? What you guys may notice and have already begun noticing is that as we become aware of that activity of ego claiming everything, it starts to become a little bit wearying. It starts to become a little bit tiring to notice that there's a part of your mind that's like, I did that, I said that, I thought that, I felt that, I responded that way. And you go more and more inwards into your true nature, which is just abiding as this perfect, pristine, silent awareness that has no problems, that has no need to prove itself, that doesn't need to formulate opinions about what it's seeing. It's just such a place of unbelievable liberation and peace. And you begin to contact that part of your true nature, and suddenly the ego just starts to sort of exhaust you. And if you notice that happening, that is an incredibly telling sign that you are really expanding your consciousness. Your awareness is opening, because really what your ego will eventually sound like to you, or the way you will experience your ego, is sort of like you're trapped in a room with a spoiled toddler. Like it's always crying to get its needs met. Give me more, I need more, give me that, I did that, I hate that, I don't like that, I like that. And you just become aware of that voice, and even blinking the eyelashes, right? Even blinking the eyes, that ego will say, I'm the blinker of the eyes, I did that. And the sage, as their consciousness becomes more and more crystallized and silent and aware, they notice even the subtlest things, kind of like we talk about guilt, right? We see become aware of guilt in module 2, and you guys start saying, wow, I'm guilty for being in the shower too long, for my tea was too hot, burned my lip a little bit. And I said, shame on myself for burning my own lip. Like every little tiny thing, that voice of ego is there. And so as your awareness continues to expand, you will experience that voice behind every little action of the body. And so non-doership becomes the freedom from that, where that wearying, exhausting activity of claiming all day long, you're just like, oh, I can't do it anymore. And inwardly, you just become so quiet. And you just notice that voice, like you're watching it from 2 rooms over or something. And then you're watching it from a mile away. And then you're watching it from 10,000 miles away. And then you can't even see it anymore. Not even a star in the distance. That's kind of the way that inner freedom begins to expand within you. So the following verse says his mind, meaning the enlightened mind, his mind is illuminated and free of delusions, dreams, and desires, who has attained a state of being completely dissolved in the self. It is because of effort that everyone is unhappy. It is because of effort that everyone is unhappy. What effort? Claiming, identifying. That's the inward effort that ego is always making, which is why ego consciousness is a very exhausting place to live from. That's the place why people get depressed and hopeless and lonely and sad, because ego's latching on to everything, and some things fulfill it and it says, yes, oh, I'm complete. Other things don't fulfill it. Oh, poor me and my sad story. And it's just always doing that. It's always unhappy between that pain and pleasure paradox. So that's what the passage is referring to as effort, the effort of attaching myself, searching for pain, searching for pleasure, and running from pain. Those are the only two efforts the ego ever makes. And it's always doing that in some way. And it's the act of being identified that is how it does that, right? It identifies with what it thinks will bring it pleasure, and it resists and hates and judges and criticizes what it thinks will bring it pain. Both are identification. So it says, it is because of effort that everyone is unhappy, but nobody knows that. It is with this superior teaching that the blessed ones attain liberation. So I just love that angle, because I think it's an easy reminder when I feel that sense of maybe like inner exhaustion from that ego consciousness. I can remind myself to just become divinely lazy. I can't even claim that I'm the blinker of the eyelids. I'm just pure awareness, just witnessing. That's the place where freedom happens. Okay, let's get into the questions, if there are any.
Morning, everybody. Hey, Aaron.
Morning, Carol. Great to see you.
You too. You too. I'll preface the question with, well, my thing is, do they go together is what I'm going to ask. I actually had one of those experiences, I think like you explained, where you had that bliss craziness for like 2 weeks. Well, mine was like 24 hours, but I was happy.
Oh, wow. Tell me more.
Yeah. It was, I was in a really deep, dark depression, and I'm used to this, I'm doing this all the time. But it wasn't just a normal, crest. I mean, it was something I've never experienced. And it was just the coolest thing ever. And I didn't want to jinx it. I'm like, oh, let this stay as long as it will.
I know the feeling. Yes. And that's already ego, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was trying not to do that, because I'm like, I don't want to think. I don't want to break this. I don't want to, I was just like, don't think, don't analyze, just enjoy and relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I told somebody about it, and I don't know if that's what broke it. But anyway.
Jesus said, don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing, Carol. Come on.
I said, next time I'm not telling a soul.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that enlightenment to yourself.
Yeah.
I'm interested though, Carol. Tell me a little bit more about you said it was like a 24-hour period. Describe to me what that state was like.
It's just nothing mattered. I mean, everything was just cool and perfect. And I was almost at that point where like, okay, I'm not listening to, and I don't want to listen to YouTube. I don't want to read any books. I just want to relish in this. And it was almost like that story you tell where like, I just wanted to burn all his books and go, I got it. I got it.
You're like, oh, I got it. Nothing matters.
Yeah, nothing matters. It's just all good. It's just all here to enjoy it, just have fun. And, I couldn't stop smiling. I mean, you couldn't wipe the smile off my face. I was like giddy,
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, this could be 2 hours, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. No, it's 24 hours, but it was cool because now I've seen it. I felt it. I know it exists.
You can't deny it anymore after you taste it.
Right.
Let me ask you this. The first thing you said to me is such a hallmark indicator. You said nothing matters. Like that was absolutely how I experienced it for 2 weeks. It was like impossible to care about anything in an egoic way. Like it was impossible to need anything or have an opinion about anything. So my question for you is, did it feel more like you lost something that's typically there, or that you gained something that's typically not there?
Oh, absolutely gained something that's usually not there. I didn't feel like I lost anything. There isn't anything to lose.
What would you say you gained?
I don't know, freedom, liberation. Now I know what they mean by there's no words. It's just, I don't know. I didn't want it to end. It was just the best feeling ever.
Mm-hmm.
I can only explain it as maybe freedom, just freedom from everything.
So you gained freedom from,
Mm-hmm.
yeah?
The way it felt like, yeah.
Freedom from what? What would you say? Like somebody who's not spiritual at all, they're like, hey, what was up with yesterday? You were so happy and different. Like, what was that about? How would you explain it?
Just freedom from worrying about things, just freedom from, I don't know, just freedom from the world itself, just coming, I don't want to say it was coming down on me. It's not really that. Just whatever happens. It's all good. It's just freedom from worrying about the future.
Yeah.
Worrying about the past. You're just free in the moment and nothing matters. I don't know. It was so weird and it was so cool.
So you gained that divine laziness, huh?
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not going to try to even explain it to people that aren't on this path. That, there was two people I told, and I'm like, I'm not going to, I'm going to the Super Bowl party with my family next weekend. I was like, you think I'm going to mention anything like this? They already think I'm nuts. So,
Yeah. And how can you truly describe a land to somebody that they've never visited before? Like, yeah, maybe you could, do it some justice, but they really have to go visit it themselves to see the sights. So you might as well just let them go visit it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's why I don't take pictures when I see awesome scenery. I'm like, pictures don't do it justice. You show somebody a picture, you're like, yeah, that's not really what it looked like. So
yeah.
Now, you said that when yours went away, you were like, I got to figure out how to get that back, and you went on this path. And I know I can't struggle to get it back. I can't do that. But does that come back occasionally? It's not just your constant state, obviously, because that was just pure. You couldn't even function in that, I don't think.
You couldn't?
So, well, I didn't want to. I just wanted to just relax and do nothing. Or you just want to just like
divine laziness.
Yeah, you're just like, no, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Is why the sage is like completely static or completely dynamic, and there's like no in between. Because it is just moved by life. There's no concept of a separate individual who's moving itself independently from life. So have you ever had a friend who's very talkative, or they complain a lot, or maybe with a partner or somebody who's trying to argue with you about something, and they're trying to prove their point, and they keep going over it. And at some point you get so exhausted, you're like, look, I'm done. I don't have the energy for this. Like, you win, you're right, whatever. That kind of feeling. Imagine having that feeling with every little movement of your ego. Even the blinking of the eye is something in you says, I don't even have the energy to go there with you anymore. It's so exhausting to me. The more aware you become of how serenely happy and sublime your real state is, you don't want to lose it for anything. You're not willing to trade anything for it. And you just become more aware that to identify with ego is to trade my peace for, the illusion the ego's promising me of happiness. It's like, I already have it. So I'm just not interested in anything ego has to say anymore. You'll be happier when you get that thing, that relationship, that blah, 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 blah. All that stuff just becomes silly to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is that your general feeling most of the time then? You're just in that kind of blissful calm? Well, there's a difference between blissful and calm, I think. At least it was for me.
Absolutely. It's and nobody's doing it. It's not something that I have to be mindful of anymore. It's just as effortless as wanting to leave the room from somebody like an annoying, spoiled toddler, right? You just find yourself leaving the room. So in that same sense, when, let's say, the sage sees somebody in trouble who needs help or whatever, right? The sage leaps into action to go help the person. But inwardly, they're not making any effort. They're still not letting the ego, like Jesus said, letting the left hand know what the right hand's doing. There still isn't a voice that's like, I am saving this person right now. That doesn't exist for the sage. So the sage just, wow, I'm finding myself leaping to action. How fascinating. Oh, I'm saving somebody. Oh, well, life is saving somebody through this body. There is no concept of a separate me. So it's like, I am that divine reality in motion. And how can you not be happy when you know yourself as that?
That would be really cool to live in that state all the time, or at least more often. Or that was incredible.
Because the thing is, you have to start seeing that you are in that state. There's just a lot of noise distracting you from recognizing it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah,
That's
I just don't want to
liberation.
effort at it. I want it to happen naturally again, and just
yes. And that's really good that you're aware of that. Don't make any effort. In fact, make less and less effort. The more you're aware of what ego's doing, the more it complains or guilt trips you, spiritual ego. Oh, you lost that free sample of enlightenment, Carol. Shame on you. Become even lazier in your relationship to that voice. Papaji, disciple of Ramana Maharshi, that was his primary teaching. Keep quiet. Don't make any effort. Anytime somebody asked him, how do I attain enlightenment? He would just look at them and say, don't make any effort. And they would ask again and again, different ways. They would formulate the question, don't make any effort. And at some point it clicks. Oh, that kind of effort. And then there's freedom.
Yeah, that's what I felt when I was in it. I was like, don't do anything.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid don't move, don't breathe, it's just just enjoy it for what it is while it's here. Don't try to duplicate. Don't try to eat the same thing. Don't try to watch the same thing. Don't try to do just not going to work.
Yeah. You're like, I was peeling oranges yesterday morning at 9:30 when it happened. So let me peel the oranges again. See if we can work this thing up like a magic trick or something. Yeah, that's wonderful. It's about letting life do all that stuff, like peel the orange, shop for groceries, have a conversation, drive your car, let life do all that stuff. Just be the witness. Just observe what's happening, because you'll start to realize, oh yeah, I'm always just observing. I just keep fooling myself that I'm the doer. The more you're aware of that, it becomes so obvious. There is no doer. Life is the doer. God is the all doer, right? That's freedom.
That was a good way to put it. Yeah. I wasn't doing anything. I was experiencing enjoyment, bliss. I was just like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's just keep it going. Whatever.
Yeah. You were experiencing what is. Period.
Awesome.
Love that. Thank you, Carol, for that insight. All right. Anyone else get enlightened this week? Who's next? I love Gary put this quote in here from Nisargadatta that I love, where somebody asked him, hey, you look more lazy to me than enlightened. And he says, you have no idea how lazy I am. Is that good or what?